first noticed him standing across the street, watching me through the window as I got ready for bed. Just a dark silhouette in the glow of the streetlight, unmoving. I tried to rationalize it away as a trick of the light, a tree branch or shadow playing tricks on my eyes. But something about the figure's stillness and the way it seemed to be intently observing me made my skin crawl. I pulled the curtains shut and got into bed, trying to put it out of my mind. It was nothing, just my imagination running wild as usual. In the morning, I'd laugh at myself for letting shadowy shapes outside get to me this way. Sometime later, I awoke from a dead sleep, my heart pounding. I couldn't explain the feeling of dread that washed over me, the sense that something was dreadfully wrong. Almost against my will, my gaze drifted to the window, and there he was again. The thin man stood motionless, his gangly form barely visible through the gap in the curtains. Despite the darkness, I could make out his spindly arms hanging wildly, unnaturally long, nearly brushing the ground. He was skeletal, emaciated in a way that shouldn't be possible for a living creature. As I watched in horror, he tilted his head ever so slightly, as if aware that I could now perceive his presence. A high-pitched whine filled my ears, growing in intensity like the shriek of rusted machinery. It took me a moment to realize the ungodly sound was emanating from the thin man himself. My hands clapped over my ears, but it did no good to block out that brain-piercing frequency. Just when I thought my head would split open, the whining stopped as abruptly as it had started. In the ringing silence that followed, I heard something worse, a low, guttural gurgling like the nastiest English kung flu you can imagine. The sound provided a cadence, a demonic rhythm that seemed to beckon the thin man forward. One jerking step, then another, each movement made in time with the gargling, retching noises. He was coming closer, an inexplicable sense of dread and revulsion welling up inside me. Somehow, I knew that if he reached my window, something horrific would happen, something worse than death. I screwed my eyes shut, pulling the blankets over my head like I was a kid again, hiding from monsters in the dark. When I finally summoned the courage to look again, the curtain gap was empty. The thin man was gone. Had he been merely a waking nightmare, a figment of my exhausted imagination? Or was he something more sinister, a harbinger of some great evil biding its time, waiting for me to let my guard down? I wanted to cry out for help, to call the police, but my voice was frozen with primal terror. The gurgling had stopped, but still it echoed endlessly in my mind, a dreadful promise that the thin man would return. In the end, I did the only thing I could think to do. I stayed awake, feverishly watching and waiting as dawn's first light finally crept over the horizon, praying that daylight would keep the darkness at bay and the thin man away, at least until night fell once more.